This is Leigh with Coda Country, and today I'm by myself, surprisingly, just giving you an intro into season 2 of Coda Country Chats. Now, last season we had some pretty awesome guests, and I wanted to preview this next season coming up, but I wanted to also give you a little rundown of things that have been going on in my country music discovery that it's been going on for the past 6 months or so. In January, I decided that I wanted to go see more live shows because that's one of the purposes that I set forth as a mission for Coda Country, bringing more live music to fans out there through social media. That's kind of it. And in my head, I was like, well, if I'm going to see live music, I want other people to be able to see it too. I will admit, I am one of the world's worst about recording during a concert because I like to be present in the moment. I like to be one of those people who is just there singing along in the crowd, enjoying the music that's being played, being in awe of the musicians on stage. So I do a really bad job of documenting that from time to time. I just kind of forget to turn my phone on and click record. But what I love so much about the artists that I've seen so far this year, there's a new vulnerability from artists. You never know what's going to happen. In February, my husband and I traveled to Nashville to go see Mitchell Tenpenny and Tyler Braden in their 2-night stint at the Ryman. I'd never seen a show at the Ryman before, and that was an incredible experience. The acoustics in the Ryman are nothing to be compared to. It's a beautiful space visually, but you also have a 130-year-old stage that still looks like it's brand new because it's just been preserved and well kept. So that's something that I'll never forget. Mitchell Tenpenny is one of my favorite artists. I've had such a major Jones for his music since probably 2017 when I first heard his cover of If the Boot Fits, which is actually a song that he wrote for Granger Smith. But if you've never heard his cover of that, you should check that out. And now he has so many other radio hits like I'll Call You Later and Drunk, Me, Can't Get Over You. Definitely one of my favorites. In March, which is my birthday month, I had a stint there where I saw 3 different shows in a row. The first being Co Wetzel, the second being Hardy, and then the third, which was completely different, was Josh Turner. So I didn't know much of Co Wetzel. I took my nephew, who's 16 years old, and he's very much like one of those, into his lifted truck and wearing his Southern Marsh hats. And so knowing that he really liked Co Wetzel, I was like, well, we're going to go. We're just going to see what's going to happen with that. I wasn't expecting to like him as much as I did because some of his music I can get on board with, and some of it that I've heard before seeing him live, I was like, this is okay. But now that I've seen him live and seen him perform it, I can't get enough of his music. I think that Co Wetzel really has kind of defined a new genre in country music itself. But then you pair Co with Hardy, who I saw the next night in Atlanta at the Tabernacle, who is also being one of those defining members of like the rock country era. Hearing what he's done with his project, The Mockingbird and the Crow, has just rejuvenated, I think, a lot of fan buy-in to how country music is going or different ways that it could go. There are so many people out there who just kind of think country music has to be one straight thing. If it doesn't have steel, if it doesn't have a banjo, if there's, not some thing about beer or honky tonk or whatever, it's not country. And that's just not true. I'm one of those people who thinks that country music is what it is, and sometimes it should just be respected for the genre. And then I think about some of those artists who really have defined the generation for country music, like Josh Turner, who I just saw at CMA Fest a few weeks ago, but then I saw him back in March after seeing Co Wetzel and Hardy. So Very different, still in that realm of the country music world. However, Josh Turner has a classicism about him that I think makes him like an elevated version of country music. You think about Why Don't We Just Dance, and you think about Your Man, and you think about Long Black Train. And at his show in March, he also did a lot from his gospel album that he released. So hearing this more traditional side of country was very eye-opening, that our genre that we know and love is expanding but is still rooted. So that was pretty great to see. In April, I'm going to just keep right on rolling here and talk about my time with Tortuga Music Fest. And if you've never been to Tortuga, I sincerely hope that you'll take the time to go one year. This was the 10th anniversary of the festival. And keep in mind, this is on a beach all day long, starting from about like 1 o'clock until the night's over. I've been before. This is my second experience with Tortuga, and the lineup was crazy good. We had Eric Church, Shania Twain, and Kenny Chesney as headliners. The weather was pretty crazy. My flight got delayed, and so I just decided to drive, which was like an 8-hour drive to get there. But yeah, Fort Lauderdale, where the festival is hosted, was underwater for like 2 days before the festival started. And so I didn't even know if we were going to get to go or not. So luckily it kind of came to be that we, we're going to put the festival on, and luckily they did. We did have 2 separate rain delays though. And, there's 20,000 people packed into this festival on one side of the arena where I'm standing, and I'm watching Lauren Elena at a daytime stage. And we get this notification on our phones and then through the stage system that everyone has to evacuate and everyone has to seek shelter. And we're on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. Like, there's not a whole lot of places to go. So that was a little scary. But luckily, the rain delay didn't hold off much of the artists from performing the first day. Now, day 3 is when we had the second rain delay. And we'd gotten through most of the artists that day. So the last one to perform was Kenny Chesney. I've seen Kenny Chesney about 7 times in person. And let me tell you, he never puts on a show that disappoints. His show is one of the most electrifying that I've seen in person. Just because he's constantly up and down the stage while maintaining the vocal quality that he has on his records. He sounds just like the album. And that's pretty tough to do when you're so active, running back and forth on stage. That's impressive. However, the rain delay happened in the middle of his set. We all had to seek shelter. And now at this point, there's about 40,000 of us all crowded at this one stage. So that was a little scary trying to get out of that situation. But within about 30 minutes, the rain passed, and Kenny Chesney came back out and played about an hour of nothing but his bangers. I mean, it was the greatest set list of any performer I've seen in a long time at that point. Back in May, I saw Taylor Swift perform her 3-hour Eras tour. I went with my friend Grady Smith, which that was a wonderful experience too, just because I didn't know Grady prior to going to that concert. I happened to have an extra ticket, and I messaged him and I was like, hey, I know you're a Swiftie. I know you're not going to the concert. Do you want to take this other ticket and go with me? As a total stranger. So that could have went pretty bad, I would say. And honestly, the beginning of the night did not start out great. Not because of Grady, but because of the rain. We went to Nashville show night 3, and as you know, there was torrential downpour before she came on stage. So you have all of the guests that Nissan Stadium holds. I'm assuming it's close to 60,000, 70,000 fans. And we're all like pushed in the bottom of the bowl of the arena to get out of the rain. But I'll say, like, in that instance, I realized that Swiftie Love is such a a unique bonding experience. And while a lot of people would argue that Taylor Swift is not country anymore, I think back to her debut album and Fearless and some of those other sprinklings of country music influence that she has in there in her albums. And now with Folklore and Evermore being more so folky and singer-songwritery, knowing the impact that Taylor Swift has on our generation of fans is astounding, breathtaking, exhilarating to watch her on stage, captivate a crowd that was hanging on her every word. If you didn't see the Eras tour, I really hope that they're going to record it because I would love to see it again. Flash forward another month and I got to go see all of the artists perform for CMA Fest. I hadn't been to CMA Fest in several years, and this was the 50th anniversary of CMA Fest. I think about how amazing of an event CMA Fest puts on for music education. If you didn't know this already, I'm a music teacher. I teach high school choir, musical theater, and guitar. And to know that the CMA Fest is geared towards profiting our music education within the United States is inspiring. Just because as someone on the front lines, I can tell you, we don't get a lot of attention, and I get that. Like, I know that students need to be more well-versed in math and English and social studies and science and blah, blah, blah. But where I live, sports reign supreme. I can get on a soapbox about this a bunch, but knowing the quality that we've created down here in South Georgia makes me want to showcase our students even more than what they get showcased. And so for CMA Foundation to come in and host an event that is specifically geared towards music educators, thank you for that, because we need a little bit more help anywhere we can get it. I'll say too, knowing that most of these artists perform in support of this cause makes me even more of a fan of these artists. I became a new fan of several new artists, and I'll give you a rundown of a lot of them that I loved seeing and meeting in person. One of those is Walker Montgomery. If you didn't know, he's the son of John Michael Montgomery. So a crazy country music lineage there, but very talented guy. He played on the Hard Rock stage on Thursday, and I got to meet him in a meet and greet. But it's crazy. Obviously, I knew who he was because his name was plastered everywhere, and I knew he was before that, even if I didn't see his name plastered. But I walk up, and mind you, I'm still new at the social media, country music media game. And before I even shake his hand, he's like, "Hey, you're Coda." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And that was crazy in itself because I was already a fan, and now I'm a bigger fan because to be recognized for what I've been doing is a very big validation moment for me. Another set of humans that I loved to meet was Tiger Lily Gold. These ladies are so sassy. They were super sweet to meet in a meet and greet, but then hearing them live on the Maui Gym stage was such a treat. Krista and Kendra, obviously sisters from the Dakotas, their version of country music is sweet and sassy and still wholesome. If you haven't listened to their new EP, Blonde, you should. Another great performance that I saw was from Ian Munsick. I'll admit, before CMA Fest, I tried to listen to a couple of his songs from White Buffalo, and I didn't think his music was for me. I really didn't. However, seeing him live and him starting with Barn Burner, I was like, I feel like I've been transported back in time to like 90s country era, because that's what it felt like. It felt like we're back in the heartland, you know what I mean, era of like George Strait and Garth Brooks and early Tim McGraw. That's what he felt like for me. And on the same caliber of that feeling was the performance I saw from Cody Johnson. To know some of his music and to appreciate a lot of what he's done, Till You Can't makes me cry every time I hear it on the radio. But then to see him live and to sing it live and to hear what he has to say about his music and his fans and his respect for the genre and his respect for those who take care of him, like first responders and armed services members, that was astounding. The humility that he has on stage makes him that much more of a wonderful performer. And so, Cody Johnson, if you're listening to this, I can't wait to see you again. I've been scouring your site to find tickets in an area near me, so hopefully I will soon. It's almost July, and I've started Coda Country in October. I started Coda Country Chats back in January, like I said. My first artist who I interviewed in person was Taylor Austin Dye. And I think about the growth that she's had. I also got to see her and reconnect during CMA Fest. So I'm so glad that she was one of the first that I could talk to and get those like first interview jitters out. She kind of made that a very welcoming and awesome experience for me. Looking forward into the next 6 months and the next season of Coda Country Chats and Coda Country. We have several interviews that I'm going to post soon for the podcast, just so you guys can hear a little bit more from new artists and artists that kind of blow me away, and maybe some familiar artists that you have heard of and love as much as I do. I just hope that you realize that Coda Country is for the fans. I'll be selfish in saying it's a little bit for me too. It's very much a hobby. It's very much one of those things that I've loved doing, and I hope to continue it as long as I can. My husband, my family, all love country music. I mean, you ask my daughter who her favorite artist is in general, and she'll tell you Dolly Parton and Shania Twain. So I hope to keep this going, and I'm open to new avenues of branching Coda Country into bigger outlets and interviewing bigger stars and sharing their stories as well. So until then, this is Leigh with Coda Country, and you heard it here on Coda Country Chats. Season 2 is kicking off right now.